What up, YouTube? Yeah, I already know. Big Lou tapping back in with what it do with Big Lou and FCR2, baby. So, as you guys already know, and hopefully you can tell from the thumbnail, but I haven't made a video in a few days. Just been trying to get my rest on, man, and the new project at work has just been kicking my ass. I'm literally just 200 miles a day driving. Nonstop behind the wheel, 8 to 10 hours a day straight. You know what I mean? So the quicker we're done with our routes, the quicker we're off. And if we only put in 5 hours, 6 hours, however it goes, we still get our 8. But then some days we start later in the day. So instead of 6 in the morning, we start at 10 in the morning. So it all just, it's been just messing me up. The commuting, it's just, now it's warmer. So anyways, I've been lacking on getting these videos out. And, after 4 or 5 days of doing that a couple of times over a, period of a couple of weeks, it starts to show in your analytics and your numbers. My numbers are still showing the arrow going up, but there's been a big difference, from like, say, a month and a half ago where, I had over 28 days, 78,000 views, you know what I mean? Then slowly but surely it ticks down, because every 28 days, every day changes that 28 days, right? So, now we're down to like 53,000 views over a 28-day period, so everything is going down, but it's still showing up, you know what I mean? So anyways, I need to get on the ball, before it continues to tick on down. But this video right here is something, it's not going to be long, and I'm going to start trying to make the videos shorter. That way people watch them longer, will stay tuned to watch them longer. So we're talking, trying to keep it 10 minutes and under. And if we got to make a second part and third part, we'll do that. But for the most part, I'm going to try to get majority, not counting this video because I'm kind of, ranting and blabbling about other things before I get to the topic at hand. But, it keeps people interested in when it's shorter. You know what I mean? So we'll try to do that. So this is about De La Hoya, Golden Boy, Bernard Hopkins. This was a topic that was brought up brought to the forefront, about how at the end of the fight, Ryan Garcia loses and De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins are nowhere to be found. Okay, press conference after the fight, post-fight press conference, you got Ryan Garcia there. You got Mayweather's, lingering around. You got Leonard Ellerby. You got Tank's coach, head trainer. On the other side, you got Ryan. I think Brian's brother and dad were around. And then you had Golden Boy's president. I think his name's Flores. Raul Flores, I think it is. He was right there with Tank. But, he's the president of this, and he's the president of, or he might be the CEO of Golden Boy. But we all know that Golden Boy is ran by the owner, De La Hoya, and then Bernard Hopkins is might be his vice chairman. I'm not sure what the titles are, but nonetheless, neither one of them were there. So De La Hoya comes out with a video saying that, his security told him, hey, boss, we got to get you out of here, that he was getting death threats and things such as that. I don't know. I can't say it's true or not, but if you got a top-notch security team around you, you know what I mean? Not to mention you have the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police there, right? And they have their own top-notch security there, or I don't know if you want to call it top-notch, but they have their own security there at the T-Mobile Arena. You got secondary and third, even a third line of defense if anybody tries to, pull anything, right? Nothing's going to happen inside the arena. I mean, you got to go through metal detectors unless there's some type of inside planning, but who would really want to go to that extent to kill De La Hoya or Bernard Hopkins? So I'm not going to say it's bogus what they said about that, though, that his reasoning why him and B-Hop weren't there. But I will say this, at Golden Boy Promotions, you have a fighter named Angel Acosta, who's a flyweight, who has 22 wins, 3 losses with 21 knockouts. You got Demetrius Ballard, who's a middleweight with a record of 21, 1-1 with 11 knockouts. You got Gael Cabrera as a bantamweight. He hasn't even fought yet. You got Johnny Cañas, who hasn't fought yet, lightweight. You got Blair Cobbs as a welterweight who is 15, 1-1 with 10 knockouts. You got Oscar Collazo, who is a junior flyweight. He's only 5-0 with 3 knockouts. You got Raul Curiel, who's a welterweight with 11-0 record with 9 KOs. You got Diego De La Hoya, featherweight, 23 wins, 1 loss with 11 KOs. You got Joseph Diaz Jr., who's a lightweight, 32 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw with 15 knockouts. You got Oscar Duarte, lightweight, 25 1-1 with 20 knockouts. You got Marlene Esparza, flyweight, 13 wins, 1 loss with 1 KO. You got Manuel Flores, a bantamweight, 15-0 with 11 KOs. You got Ryan Garcia, as we know now, is 23-1 with 19 knockouts. So besides I would say Diaz, besides Diaz, Oscar Duarte, those are probably the top guys, and Diego De La Hoya are the top guys. But I think Ryan's the face of Golden Boy. Therefore, Bernard Hopkins and De La Hoya should have been there. Been there and at least one of them for support. Besides the president, besides Flores being there, B Hop. B Hop's a gangster, man. B Hop's lived that life. I seen some people saying that when, he touched Tank. Tank was like, "Don't touch me." And I put a comment in one of the things like, even at 60, B Hop will put hands on that boy. I was just joking around, you know what I mean? Come on. Tank's 26, 27, Bernard's 60, you know what I mean? So, come on. But we all know that if you don't know, B Hop really lived that gangster life. He did a lot of time in the pen. He boxed in the pen. He came out and made it a career and was one of the oldest world champions in history of boxing. You know what I mean? De La Hoya, in my opinion, the De La Hoya Mayweather fight, I think De La Hoya won that on points. But at the time, it was like transitioning from the torch was kind of being passed because up until that point, De La Hoya was the pay-per-view kingpin. You know what I'm saying? Mayweather obviously took that and ran and way surpassed De La Hoya. And then you had Pacquiao too doing his thing. But that's what I feel about that. A lot of people, they'll say this and that. But if anybody knows boxing, they know that Pretty Boy Floyd was knocking people out. Right? When he went up in weight, he started having problems with his hands where he was having hand issues at junior welterweight, junior middleweight. You know what I'm saying? He had hand issues starting at, I want to say probably starting at 140, junior welterweight. Definitely at welterweight. So his game changed. He started being more, more defensive, way more, he changed the game just like Steph Curry changed the game of basketball. It was all about, a lot about defense with Floyd. He's seen what happened to fighters in the past, such as Donald Curry, Terry Norris, even Tommy Hearns has some slow issues, I think, too. Riddick Bowe even speaks kind of funny, in my opinion. So he knew that he wanted to be an older person in his life with all his faculties upstairs, everything. And so the game was hit and get hit less as possible, at least as possible. And he did that with flying colors. He mastered it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of Mayweather, but game recognized game. You got to admit he's definitely one of the top fighters of all time, not just his generation, but all time. So at some point I'm gonna do a video on, and I'm gonna put the question out there to everybody: what's a bigger accomplishment, Manny Pacquiao's 8 division winning titles, major world titles in 8 divisions, or Floyd Mayweather's 50-0 record? But at the same time, Floyd has like 15 major world titles he's won. And I think Manny Pacquiao has 12. I think 12, 11, 12, or 13. One of those. But he accomplished a lot, and then also some people include it, some people don't include it. The name, because it's only a name. There's not an actual belt for it. The lineal champ. And what the lineal champ means is that you beat the man and now you became the man. And then you got the Ring Magazine title, which is the one that looks like the Rocky Balboa belt, kind of with the red, white, and blue strap. It's like a stretchy strap. It looks like. So yeah, this is just video just about touching on the topic of what, and then I want to hear it from your guys' point of view too, and your perspective and opinions on this. Should De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins had stuck around no matter what, or at least one of them, and been there in support of Ryan Garcia for the public and the media to see it? Because I seen also some comments like, De La Hoya couldn't take the pressure of the questions. Why couldn't he? He was an actual fighter. He actually went in there and lost, when they thought he was going to win. Or, he lost to Mosley twice. He lost to Trinidad. He lost to Mayweather. He lost to Pacquiao. He's lost. Bernard Hopkins, he's lost. So he's had to face it before as a fighter. So that's definitely got to be harder to face the music as a fighter losing than as a promoter, as an owner of a promotion company. I mean, come on. Like, some of these people don't really know the history of things, and they speak, and I call it talking out of the side of their neck, or some people say talking out of their arse, right? Their ass, right? And that's honest to God truth, because it's just like with that. Oh, he couldn't stand up to, he couldn't take the heat of the questions. When this man was an actual fighter, you know what I mean? He had to stand up to the heat of the questions after losing. He didn't just lose once, twice. I think De La Hoya lost 6 times, something like that. You know what I mean? Especially like in the Trinidad fight where, yeah, he did outbox Trinidad. He should have won. Most likely it was looking like he was going to win. But in my opinion, and I'm being biased also because Trinidad obviously is Puerto Rican and I'm Puerto Rican, you know what I mean? But I believe that De La Hoya, if he would have started doing more of the running around, trying to get away from the punches, say in the 8th round, 9th round instead of the 6th round, he would have won that easily. But he took it as he did enough in those 6 rounds in the first half of the fight to cruise to a unanimous decision. And now, like I said, if he would have did that after probably the 8th round, definitely the 9th round, he would have cruised to a unanimous decision. But, sometimes with the judges, man, they see something else. And you got to keep in mind, too, folks, that they're right there ringside. It's different. They see things differently. You know what I mean? But then sometimes they miss things, too. Sometimes it looks like somebody's getting out. Like, this is one thing I'll say about Sugar Ray Leonard. A lot of times Sugar Ray Leonard would turn it up the last 10 seconds of the round, and he would just, a lot of flurries. But it looks good from certain angles. But if you're close enough and see, he's hitting it a lot of times in the gloves, and that shouldn't be scored as no type of points. Another thing you'll see the judges, too, like in the Porter-Garcia fight. Sean Porter gets the victory over Danny Garcia because they said he was the more busier fighter, throwing more punches. But they weren't landing. If you look at, if I'm correct on my recollection of it, Danny Garcia landed more power punches, and I think his percentage was a little bit better. And they're giving it to Porter because he threw, say, 1,000 punches that didn't land. That's like Olympic type or amateur type a scoring system, if that makes sense to you guys, what I'm trying to say. In other words, in Olympics or amateurs, if even though you're not landing punches, but you're being more active, throwing more punches, a lot of times you'll get the nod on that round. You know what I mean? And that's what I felt that happened there. Another thing too, you got to tell Danny Garcia, you started way too slow, and by the time you started getting going, it was way too late. You know what I'm saying? He's done that in the Thurman fight. He did that in the Porter fight. Spence just had his ass no matter what he tried to do, and that's what Spence does. Spence will keep you from doing whatever your training was in camp. He'll keep you from doing that, and then any type of adjusting you try, he'll put his foot on your neck on that too. And then look at most of the fighters he ends up fighting, they end up either retiring and saying I'm cool, or they end up getting hurt, like Ugas, Sean Porter, Kell Brook. You know what I mean? I seen somebody put Danny Garcia in that category, but I don't see how, because he beat him legitimately, yes, of course. But I don't see, he didn't hurt him, and Danny Garcia didn't retire. Matter of fact, he ended up going up in weight. But the fucked up thing for Danny Garcia now is Earl Spence is going up in weight, and only one guy's got all the belts in that division. So, it's kind of like, so at this point, Danny Garcia, I think, and everybody else, and that's the thing too, Jamel Charlo and Earl Spence are buddies. They're both from Texas. I think they train too together, or under the same team. They're gonna have to eventually sign to fight each other. Because Charlo has all the belts. He's unanimous king at 154. You know what I mean? So that's not much. For Danny Garcia, the only other option is a WBA regular, which is Lara. So basically at this point, it's just making money for the rest. The money he'll stack up for the rest of his career. Because keep it real, they're not going to put Garcia. Well, they might, because of the fact that those two guys are buddies, and maybe they might not want to sign the dotted line to fight each other. But it's, they're not. I don't see them going with Danny Garcia over Spence if it comes to that with Charlo. The only way is like I just mentioned. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and tap on out on this one. It's been about almost 15 minutes by the time I close out on this video, and I'm gonna try to keep the videos between 6 and 10 minutes from here on out on the pre-records, not the live chats. I got another video or two that I'm gonna be dropping today. Part 2 of the puppies. When you get a puppy, what to do and what to expect and what not to do and stuff like that. I did that on a live, not this last Sunday, the Sunday before. And I didn't really touch everything. That was the day that I picked up May. So we got some other things in the work. But obviously I need help with what I'm doing. and we'll see where we'll go with that. But you got to start somewhere. And remember, people, if you're trying to make money in the world, it takes money to make money. So, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to take loans out. You got to save whatever you can, however you can, in order to get things kick started, basically. Prime to take you in the direction you're going. Sometimes you have to do things that at the time doesn't fit your program or fit not necessarily your program or where your vision's going. And I'm referring to the dogs. Um, if you got a certain way you want to go with your dogs, the look, the certain traits, you might have to start with something and then, work your way in there. So, just keep that in mind. It's a little something, something for you guys. And I'll be coming back soon with something else. Big Lou, tapping on.